Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Haraya, and I am so excited to have you join me for this webinar on one of the most influential personal development books of all time, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey. Whether you're here to improve your leadership skills, boost productivity, or simply want to become more effective, you're in the right place. Before we dive in, let's take a moment to recognize why this book has stood the test of time. Since its first publication in 1989, it has sold over 40 million copies worldwide and has been translated into multiple languages. It's more than just a book. It's a philosophy, a mindset, and a roadmap to success that has transformed the lives of individuals, teams, and organizations globally. That being said, the book has touched millions of people's lives. There are thousands of success books out there, so why should this one be any different? Stephen researched decades of success literature and found something quite interesting. Most books were focused on the personality ethic. So, what makes Stephen's 7 habits so powerful? The 7 habits of highly effective people takes an inside out approach. It focuses on the character ethic rather than the personality ethic. The personality ethic can be seen as the fake it till you make it image, and it's not rooted in character. Things like public image, how you dress, how you perform your social interactions, positive mental attitude, skills, and even techniques to get people to behave in certain ways. Sometimes people apply these personality techniques to use and manipulate people to meet their goals and agendas. In the long run, people will eventually see through this duplicity. But you can't fake character ethics, things like integrity, humility, temperance, courage, justice, patience, simplicity, modesty, and the golden rule. Name it. Picture an iceberg. The personality ethic is above the water. The character ethic is below it. It forms the foundation. It's where the greatest impact over the long term is. It's where you sow the seeds of greatness. The problem is, people don't focus on the foundation, they focus on appearance. They're looking for shortcuts and quick fixes. But there are no shortcuts. There is no quick fix program. This book is about foundational principles that focus on character development and long term success. In today's session, we will break down these habits, explore real world applications, and discuss actionable steps to implement them in our daily life. Along the way, feel free to engage, ask questions, and share your insights in the chat. This webinar is meant to be interactive and insightful, so let's make the most of our time together, okay? A bit of a long intro there, but it's necessary to understand the principles this book is based on. So, are you ready to take your personal and professional life to the next level? Let's dive right into the 7 habits. Before we can achieve meaningful success, we must recognize that we are in control of our choices. This brings us to the first habit: be proactive. Let's talk about something called the circle of concern and the circle of influence. The circle of concern consists of all the things that are out of your control, like the weather, politics, what people think of you, the economy, other people's mistakes, and other people's opinions. The circle of influence consists of all the things you can control: your attitude, what you read, what skills you learn, your enthusiasm, how you spend your free time and whom you spend it with, your habits, your hobbies, and so on. There are 2 ways to live life. You can either be reactive or proactive. Reactive people complain about things that are out of their control. Their environment and outside forces affect their performance and their mood. Additionally, they don't take action or ownership of the things they can control. And then you have the other type of person. They are proactive. This type of person realizes that their decisions determine their life and not their conditions. Proactive people don't complain about things they cannot control. They take action to improve the things they can control. Proactive people understand that sometimes we may not have complete control over a certain situation, but we can control how we respond to a situation. For example, two people take a test and then they both fail. One blames the teacher and gives up. The other takes responsibility and ownership, studies harder, and then tries to improve himself. The reactive person complains about how bad the teacher is. My teacher is so stupid and that's why I failed. And the proactive person asks, what can I do? Damn, I better study harder. No one to blame but myself. They look at themselves first instead of blaming and complaining. Don't focus on what you cannot control. Focus on things you can control. Take responsibility and keep in mind as you become more proactive within your circle of influence, it grows bigger. You bring more power into your life. Even if you only implement one habit out of these 7 habits I am going to go over, make it this one. This one alone can make a huge impact on your life. In life, you can either act or you're acted upon. Just like an architect drafts a blueprint before construction begins, successful leaders define their goals and purpose before taking action. Let's explore how the second habit can transform the way we lead and make decisions. Habit 2 is to begin with the end in mind. All things are created twice. The first time is in your mind, and the second is in the real world. Let's talk about how it's created in the mind first. To get where you want to go in life, you need to have a map. You need to determine your life goals and your destination. And you also need a plan on how to get there. Otherwise, you're just aimlessly wandering around in life. Let me ask you, where do you want to go in life? Have you sat down and clearly defined the type of life you want? Do you know where you want to be in, say, 5, 10, or 15 years from now? If not, then you're wandering around aimlessly at the whims of everyone else. Let me put it another way. Picture your life like a ladder. You're climbing up the ladder of life, working hard, doing the right things, and making progress up the ladder month by month, year by year. Then, as you get toward the top of the ladder, you suddenly realize your ladder was leaning against the wrong wall the whole time. Money, fame, recognition, materialism versus what you really want in life. A lot of people live their lives like this. They don't have a vision for their life. They don't have what Stephen calls a personal mission statement. You need to have a conscious effort of where you want to end up, or other people will control your life and where you end up going. This is why this habit is so important. You need to figure out your destination first and then work towards it. If you're not really clear on what your purpose is, then think about the end of your life. How do you want to be remembered? Why do you want to be remembered for that? Find your purpose and make sure it has a strong wall behind it. Not something like having a lot of money, but something you have a real passion for. You weren't put here to make money, buy stuff, and then die. You have something to contribute to the world. You can add value, so find out what that is. Instead of asking what life offers, ask what you can offer life. Take the time to think about your purpose. Think about your values and write them down. Your personal mission statement can be as simple as Will Smith's. I want the world to be better because I was here. It's very simple, right? And what you do is keep this mission statement at the forefront of your mind, and whenever you make a decision, you see if it's in alignment with that mission statement. This will keep you on track. Go crazy. Create your ideal life and your legacy. It can be whatever you want. Dream big and don't hold yourself back. Most of the time, the thing that holds us back is ourselves. Don't let self doubt get in the way. Realize that anything is possible, so define how you want your life to be right now. Don't let the past or anything else hold you back. You write the script for your life. No one else. You are the programmer. Now that we have explored the importance of beginning with the end in mind, it's time to bridge the gap between vision and execution. Welcome to the third habit, putting first things first. If habit 2 says you are the programmer, then habit 3 is Write the program. This is the second creation. As you learned in Habit 2, all things are created twice, remember? First in the mind and then in reality. Habit 3 is where you take the steps and actions required to make your vision a reality. This is where we begin examining our daily routines and tasks. Ask yourself, what's the most important thing for you at this moment? It's probably your significant other, finishing school, improving your health, or your family. It's not checking Facebook, TikTok, or Instagram. So, why do we spend so much time doing these useless things, right? We need to get into the habit of putting first things first, taking the time to focus on what really matters instead of trivial, and focusing our efforts on what's going to get us to where we want to be in life. Like, really start questioning your scripts and habits in your life. We've all fallen into the vicious cycle of waking up late, eating poorly, leaving late for work, rushing through traffic in a state of stress, being unorganized at work, and being pulled in 1,000 different directions, and then getting home, eating fast food because you're already tired, and then you fall asleep late because you watched some shows or a series on Netflix. And then you wake up late the next day to do it all over again. This is the perfect example of not putting first things first. We could all use a little help in the time management department. So, how do we manage our time effectively? Usually, we all write things down on a giant to do list, and we tend to go in order from top to bottom with no real priorities. Or we schedule things on a calendar, which is a decent practice, but with one interruption, our whole game can be thrown off. We could also try daily planning based on priorities, but again, one interruption or emergency can mess it all up. Most of us fall into this time management scheme, but there is another way. The best way, according to Stephen Covey, is to categorize things by urgency and importance. Stephen developed a cool quad chart for this, and you need to categorize items in the following quadrant. Quadrant 1, urgent and important activities. This is the crisis or firefighting mode, putting out fires, emergencies, and kind of a reactive mindset. These are activities that require immediate attention and have significant consequences. Things like meeting a pressing work deadline, handling a family emergency, or preparing for an important last minute presentation. Next, Quadrant 2. This covers not urgent but important activities. These are activities that contribute to long term success and personal growth. Things like strategic planning for career development, networking and relationship building, regular exercise and health maintenance, skill building courses or professional development, and most importantly, spending quality time with family and loved ones. We need to focus more on quadrant 2. These are often neglected activities. This is where success, balance, and growth can be truly found. Quadrant 3 activities are urgent but not important tasks. These are distractions or some busy work. Activities that feel urgent but do not contribute significantly to our goals. Things like responding to unimportant emails or calls, or attending unnecessary meetings. Could also be interruptions from other people's emergencies or handling tasks that should be delegated, or constantly checking social media notifications. And then, quadrant 4 are not urgent and not important activities. These are time wasters. Activities that provide little to no value, such as mindless scrolling on social media, excessive binge watching TV shows, playing video games for long hours without moderation, or gossiping or engaging in meaningless conversations, or simply overindulging in leisure activities that take away from our productivity. Do you remember the example given earlier of the reactive and unorganized person? Now, consider an example of someone who puts first things first. John wakes up early, exercises for 30 minutes, eats a healthy breakfast, leaves early for work, and then has a nice, smooth, and joyful ride. Then, John works on the important and not urgent things in Quad 2. and then he works on emerging issues if needed, and then delegates Squad 3 activities and rejects Quadrant 4 tasks. John then takes a nice, relaxing lunch and thinks about the rest of his day and plans his night. At the end of the workday, he closes out tasks and plans things for the next day. He gets home early and prepares a healthy meal and then maybe reads a good book before bed. He seems to have more time to think and reflect on his life, and he makes plans on where he wants to end up or who he wants to be. Basically, what we did in Habit 2. Begin with the end in mind. If you look at the two different examples, it's a huge difference, right? No one on their deathbed wishes they spent more time at work or checked their Facebook more often. So again, focus on what's important to you and then make it a priority. Commit yourself to it. Now, the first three habits, be proactive, begin with the end in mind, and put first things first, are about moving you from being dependent to being independent. They are about self mastery. They help you become more effective as an individual by developing inner strength, character, purpose, and values. The next three habits move you from being independent to being interdependent. Interdependence is the highest level of what Stephen calls the maturity continuum. The maturity continuum consists of three levels: dependence, independence, and interdependence. Dependence is a relationship between the child and a mother, or even sometimes between a boss and an employee if the employee lacks inner strength, values, and purpose. This is the attitude of you, or YOU. To move from dependence to independence, you first have to nail the first three habits. Again, be proactive, begin with the end in mind, and put first things first. This is the attitude of I, like the letter I. Most people think independence is where it's at. They think this is the highest level, when in fact, interdependence is. Interdependence is where you think like a team. Think family, think marriage, right? A teamwork mentality where we accomplish what we want together. It's the attitude of we, or WE. We can combine our different talents and our abilities to make something even greater. Now, habits 4 through 6 will help you deal with people, how to read the needs of people, how to empathize, and how to cooperate. They help you build strong relationships. And keep in mind, you have to move from being dependent to independent before you can truly become interdependent. Moving on, it's time to elevate our leadership by focusing on how we interact and create meaningful and productive relationships. The fourth habit is think win win. According to Stephen, there are 6 types of personal and business relationships. There's the lose win and win lose, which is the typical mentality for most. The lose win is a passive approach where one party gives in to avoid conflict or to maintain harmony, often leading to resentment or low self esteem. The win lose competitive mindset is where one person wins at the expense of the other. For me to win, you have to lose. This is the mindset of someone who is going to get the good end of the deal and someone is going to get screwed. This is a poor mindset, but people live with this outlook because most people have a scarcity mindset. They lack an abundance mindset. There's also the lose lose destructive mindset where both parties engage in behavior that harms each other, often due to stubbornness, revenge, or negative competition, which is, of course, not good for anybody. And I have a quick example for this one. A man got divorced and he was about to retire from the military. Instead of retiring and getting a pension, which half of it would go to his wife, he got out at 19 years and got no pension. In this case, they both lost out. Then, you have the win self centered approach where a person focuses on their own success. If you think about it, this win mentality is not a relationship at all. This is just you just getting what you want and not providing value to anyone else, and it's pretty much just selfish. Next, there's the win-win or no deal mindset. This one's pretty much neutral. Both parties commit to a mutually beneficial outcome, but if they cannot achieve one, then there's no deal. They agree to walk away without hard feelings. And then we come to the best type of relationship, a win-win. We want to look for win-win relationships. We want to search for mutual benefit. We need to have the mindset that there's plenty out there. There's abundance. We can share knowledge. We can gain. We can profit together. We don't need to crush each other out. We can work together instead. Life isn't a zero-sum game. So look at every situation with a win-win mentality. A quick example of a win-win is, hey, I'll buy a book for 20 bucks and I get all these insights and knowledge, and the author also benefits by getting 20 bucks. So again, seek win-win relationships. If it's not going to be mutually beneficial, then default to no deal. In a world filled with noise, where everyone is eager to be heard, few take the time to truly listen. We often listen with the intent to reply rather than to comprehend. But what if we reversed that approach? Revealing the wisdom behind the fifth habit, seek first to understand, then to be understood. Stephen tells a great story here. He and his son talked, but Stephen can't get through to him about an issue they're having. He then goes to a friend for advice. He tells the friend, you know what? I just can't understand my son sometimes. He won't listen to me. The friend responds, hold on a second. Let me get this straight. You can't understand your son because he won't listen to you? I thought that to understand someone, you had to listen to them. That's a great point, isn't it? To understand someone, we have to listen to them, not the other way around. It's common sense, really, but most of the time, this is how our relationships play out. We often get mad at people because they don't think the way we do. We all perceive the world through the lens of our own experiences, shaping our opinions and perspectives. Real understanding, or should I say, real connection, only happens when we choose to listen, not just to hear, okay, but to truly seek another's perspective, understand their emotions, and to grasp the why behind their views. When we see through someone else's eyes, we break down barriers, build empathy, and create stronger, more meaningful relationships. This is called empathic listening. This is the highest level of listening. The others are ignoring, pretending to listen, selective hearing, and attentive listening. None of these are very effective, yet most of us listen at one of these levels. Most people listen to reply, not to understand. But real wisdom begins when we silence the urge to react and truly hear what's being said. Before you judge, before you speak, or before you act, listen with intent. Let understanding be your first response. So, if your spouse says, I hate my job, the typical response or instinct might be to offer advice or simply echo their words. Instead, you may want to rephrase and reflect on their emotions and say something like, it sounds like you're not enjoying your job and you're feeling upset about it. This gets you both on the same side of the table. You're listening with the intent to understand intellectually and emotionally, and then you can move forward to address the situation. The best time to be understood is when the conversation shifts toward logic and advice is sought. When you go down this path, maybe your husband or wife will eventually respond with, should I look for another job? That's your cue to step in and offer guidance. Until then, resist the urge to jump in. Listen with empathy. If emotions take over again, stay present, listen, and trust that reason or logic will find its way back. That's when your words will have the greatest impact. When we take the time to truly understand others before sharing our perspectives, we foster an environment of trust and respect. This simple yet powerful habit deepens our connections, enriches our conversations, and unlocks the potential for meaningful, transformative dialogue. By By truly understanding others, we unlock a game changing habit, one that transforms teamwork, fuels collaboration, and drives extraordinary results. This is the essence of Habit 6, Synergize. Synergy is where true greatness is born. Alone we are limited, but together we are unstoppable. The principle behind this habit is that the combined efforts of a group can create something greater than the sum of its parts. Each of us brings unique perspectives, ideas, and strengths to the table. Rather than merely tolerating or accepting these differences, we should embrace, celebrate, and recognize the value of what makes each person unique. This is what great leaders do. They don't just seek agreement, they ignite brilliance. They bring diverse minds together, turning differences into strengths and ideas into groundbreaking innovations. When we truly listen, learn, and uplift one another, we don't just solve problems, we create something extraordinary, something far beyond what any one person could achieve alone. Imagine a single piece of wood, strong on its own but limited. Now, when you combine two pieces of wood, their strength doesn't just double, it multiplies exponentially. And so, with true synergy, 1 plus 1 doesn't just equal 2, it can equal 3, 10, or even 100. It's the force that turns small contributions into remarkable breakthroughs. Another example is the human body. Each organ, muscle, and bone is remarkable, but together they form the miracle of life. The whole is not just greater, it's something entirely new, something extraordinary. That's the power of synergy. That's why habits 4 through 6 are so important. They lay the foundation for strong interdependent relationships where teamwork, trust, and collaboration don't just add up, they multiply your success. All right, everybody, we've made it to the final habit. This one's just as important as the rest. It's all about continuous growth and self renewal to achieve long term success. Say hello to the seventh habit, sharpen the saw. Imagine you see a guy trying to cut down a tree with a dull saw. You say, "Hey, why don't you sharpen that thing? At this rate, it's going to take you 6 hours." He replies, "I don't have time to sharpen it. I need to cut this tree down." You explain, "If you spend just 1 hour sharpening that saw, you could cut down the tree in 3 hours. You don't have time not to sharpen the saw." Now, this principle applies to many aspects of life. We are the instruments. To be effective, we must consistently sharpen ourselves in four key areas. These are areas that will fall under Quadrant 2 activities. Not urgent, but vital for a fulfilling life. The first one is physical health. Your body is the only place you have to live. Recognize its importance. Take care of it. Exercise, nourish yourself, and move with intention. You can either prioritize your health now or pay the price later, say in 20 or 30 years, when you're in the hospital with all kinds of physical ailments that could rob you of the life you deserve. Next is spiritual health, the foundation of inner peace, a time for self reflection. Ask yourself, who am I? Where am I going? Engage in meditation, prayer, music, art, moments of gratitude, whatever nurtures your soul. Then comes cognitive health, the key to growth and lifelong vitality. Never stop learning. Feed your mind, expand your experiences, explore challenges, step outside your comfort zone, immerse yourself in new cultures, and share your knowledge and wisdom with others. And finally, social health, the heart of a meaningful life. We're not meant to walk this journey alone. Life is meant to be lived interdependently, remember? Prioritize time with family and friends. Love deeply, build meaningful connections, and show up for people who matter. These are the investments that shape your future. They won't demand your attention today, but neglect them. One day, you'll wish you hadn't. In all four of these areas, embrace the mindset of continuous improvement. The most powerful way to unlock our future potential is to invest in ourselves and commit to lifelong learning. By doing so, you reinforce and strengthen the other six habits as well. This seventh habit keeps you sharp, resilient, and ready to sustain the rest. Make these seven habits the foundation of your life, not just something you understand, but something you embody. Live them with conviction and share them with others, for true mastery comes through teaching. And yes, the road will be tough. You'll face challenges, setbacks, and moments of doubt. True transformation is not a quick fix, but a relentless pursuit. That's part of the process. Every struggle is proof of your growth. As you grow, stay open to self discovery and welcome challenges as stepping stones to greatness. Old habits will try to drag you back, but don't give in. If you break through your limits and fully commit to becoming the best version of yourself, you will reach new heights of effectiveness. As we close this session, I want to leave you with this thought. Leadership is not about power, it's about purpose. It's not about position, it's about influence. It's not about what you do, but who you become. Stephen Covey's The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People isn't just a framework, it's a way of life. To recap, the seven habits are: Habit 1, be proactive. Take initiative and ownership of your life. Habit 2, begin with the end in mind. Define your purpose and let your vision guide your path. Habit 3, put first things first. Prioritize what truly matters, not just what demands your attention. Habit 4, think win win. Strive for mutual benefit in all interactions and relationships. Build success through collaboration, not competition. Habit 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood. Listen empathetically and lead with connection. Habit 6, synergize. Harness the power of teamwork and diversity to achieve greater results. And finally, habit 7, sharpen the saw. Continue learning, growing, and renewing yourself. Invest in your growth, body, mind, heart, and spirit. The journey to greatness begins with a single decision. Let today be that decision. As you step away from this webinar, I encourage you to take action. Think about one habit that resonated with you the most. How can you apply it starting today? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your biggest takeaway in the comments. Your insights could inspire someone on their journey to effectiveness. If you found value in today's session, don't forget to like, share, and stay connected for more enriching episodes. Again, my name is Haraya. Thank you for your time and engagement, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.